drinking?
I'm drinking. I'm going to say this on camera. How are you, buddy?
Hey Josh, how's it going?
That's good to see you, man.
You
The
too.
answer to your question is, I am drinking a St Andrews Beach Brewery, the Farrier, their IPA.
Wow. The Farrier, I've never heard of it.
They're a really sweet company down in St Andrews, which is in the Mornington. And the dude's really cool. I sort of contacted him and hustled him for a better deal on some beers, and it's crazy what you like, how willing people are just to knock 10% off or whatever, and it's fucking delicious. And whenever I go down there for a surf, I always try and stop at this brewery. It's an incredible brewery with a restaurant and what have you, and grab a couple of these because they're really, really great. So cheers to the boys at St Andrews, and here's to you, mate.
Yeah, cheers. I'll just keep sipping my tea.
For the time being.
Yeah, we'll see how we go. So I'm just fixing up the noise cancelling.
So how are you, man?
I'm well. Yeah, I'm well. I'm busy. Sorry. All right, we're sorted. Yeah, I'm really, really busy. I think I've said to a couple of people, I don't think I've been this busy like ever in my life, but it's good. Like COVID happened, and then I was teaching music and gigging as a musician, and then I went to shit, and so I've got the mining card up my sleeve, so I was like, I may as well just go make some of that sweet cash. But so I did. It was all 4 and 2 rosters when I started, and then yeah.
Remember when they used to be 4 and 1s?
Well, I kind of dig that, like, because when I go up there, I'm not there to fuck spiders, as they say. I just want to make whatever to cash fast. But yeah. And then, so I did one swing of 4 and 2, and it's back to 2 and 1 now. But from that second break, I've just been really lucky, and a lot of acting stuff has come back on something I was filming pre-COVID, literally mid-March. We'd done one day of filming, and it got shut down. So that was rescheduled, and thankfully they did it around my break. So that was one break, pretty much all gone, and then the next break was the same, was something new, then there was a gap, and then there was more. So it's good, it's busy, and it's hectic, but
well, let's get some specificity there. What are these things? What are these films? Something. Let's talk about it, because I actually haven't spoken to you in a while, so I don't. You haven't shared these with me, Evan.
Sorry, Joshua.
But let me just quickly backtrack and give everyone a little bit of context here. One of my very, very first extras roles, you and I were both on that film together. What was it called again?
I was trying to remember it the other day. Like something with tea?
Holy shit. Can't even remember it. It'll come back to me. Can you believe that?
Yeah.
One of the first, and I can't remember the name of it.
Nightclub. Remember that?
That's right, Shape Nightclub in Perth. And you and I were both running in for set at the same time.
Yeah.
And I was like, that guy looks like he's an actor for sure.
I was the same thing. I was like, because you're wearing those aviators, I was like, he must be one of the...
Oh, yeah, so you had the Purcells on, didn't you?
Yeah. I wasn't even an extra, man. I was volunteering. That was like right when I had, all that just beautiful, innocent, just desire, just that urge, and I was just doing anything I could.
Eagerness.
So I literally went onto like a volunteer call sheet on FTI, and I was volunteering as, I don't know, 5th camera or something. I don't know. I was just running to and from.
Okay, right.
Like anything I could get.
Didn't you end up...
But yeah, I got used as an extra. Apparently, I haven't seen the film.
What the fuck is it called?
I had that producer Jag on it.
Yes. Okay, yep. So that's how we met, as extras on unknown film.
Yes.
Which I think took... I can't look on my phone because it's running the camera, and if I stop the app, then the camera will stop. And it's one of the first things that you see on my IMDb page, actually, funnily enough. But it took like 3 years or something to...
Oh man.
I haven't actually seen the film. But I made the trailer, which I was really stoked about because I got kicked off that chair. It was my first and only stunt.
Oh, brilliant! The trailer.
Yeah. Oh man, that's going to plague me now.
A shot off a bikini-clad girl because it was set in like a, kind of a seedy nightclub with bouncers and stuff.
Strip bar,
So
yeah.
They were like, "Do you want to do this shot?" I was like, "I'm sure." And then water disappointed.
So that's it. Yeah. So that's how we met, and you had already done Miles Pollard's class, hadn't you?
Yeah, brilliant. It was,
Yeah. And then we
literally
sort of
life-changing.
connected over that. Yeah. Yeah. Because I don't think I had done it yet. Or I was in the middle of doing it, I think. And I felt very cool going into that class of beginners and saying, I've just been on a movie set. Like a total prick. Yeah. Okay, cool. So there's context, and then we've just known each other ever since. And I feel like we worked on something else. We didn't, but for some reason I feel that's right. So we did the scene together. We did the showreel scene,
which was a great day.
That's right. Yeah. It was an epic day. We're supposed to do 2 scenes, and we got stuck just on that one. I felt so bad for what's her face, but we ended up picking it up the next day. And Miles, being the legend that he is, ended up giving us a day and a half for next to nothing back then. I mean, it would cost you 7 times as much now to do something like that.
Yeah, well, he's done very well with this, his acting training, and rightfully so. Like it's just so good.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
remember when I did it, I think I was the 3rd class he'd ever taken, and so. Yeah,
Oh,
it was
okay.
Still very,
Yeah.
trial and error, but man, he was onto a good thing. Yeah.
I'm just going to put a shirt on because it's actually getting cold, but I'm listening. So what are you working on?
What am I working on? Right now, I'm working on a short film called Ball and Chain, which is a 3rd year, like a final year Curtin Film School project. It's been really, really fun, and there's a lot of juicy stuff in there, which is so cool. My co-star is a girl called Nicoletta Dimas, and she did Whopper with me. And so we've just got a running joke that everything we do, we can't be cast without each other. Like we're literally in everything together, because Perth is pretty small. And she auditioned for it, and I had no idea about it. And she's like, "Oh, I know a guy who'd be perfect for this. You should hit him up." And they did. I sent in a tape, and they're like, "You're our guy." So
wow, that's awesome.
Quite a few people auditioned for it too, so that was.
So you're pretty. That's a nice little cherry, isn't it?
Yeah, it was. It's just been cool. Like it's just really fun, and working with Nikki is really cool because we know each other pretty well and get on well, and everyone's. I don't know. It's just kind of a fun set. Like it is a student set, but I think what we're creating is really cool.
Yep, there definitely are. Just every now and then, there's a little, a student who's got their shit together, and they've got a little gem, and if you can sift through the shit and grab one, they're really quite valuable, I think, especially when you're coming up. Because when I met you, you had only done the courses, but you were primarily a musician, and you sort of lingered and were indecisive about pursuing acting for a lot of years, and you were being very diligent with working away and earning money and creating a base, and which is super, super valuable. A lot of us don't do it, myself included. We just blast it and live for today. And then, maybe a lockdown hits and you're fucked. But then when was it? 2 years ago, you decided, fuck it. And you gave up on coming to Melbourne and went to Whopper.
Yeah,
that right?
Yeah, that's right. Well, I'd actually kind of planned to move to Sydney because I was happily mining along. That's definitely not true. I was quite unhappy, to be honest. But then end of 2016, I met a girl. We hit it off, and then I serendipitously lost my job. And she was from Germany and was travelling around Australia, and she was like, "Do you want to come with me?" And I was like, "Yeah, I really kind of do." And I felt like that was kind of a turning point because that was the first risk I'd taken in so long. I felt that I'd just been playing this safe game for years, working mining, something I didn't really like, but making some pretty good money. bought a house, all that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and then so we went over to just travel around Australia. It was great, and then the relationship didn't work out, and so I ended up in Sydney, kind of pretty broken from that.
That's
and then
sleeping on my couch for a couple of nights.
oh man, it was a very interesting time. Small moments of joy, but a lot of pain. But yeah, and then I was like, look, this isn't working because I couldn't really get through a day without crying. So I don't think that's a good way to try and establish yourself in a new city.
Have you ever seen? Did I show you Chris D'Elia, his stand-up?
Potentially.
If I haven't, I'll send you the clip after.
Drunk girls on a night out.
Yes.
Yeah, I have seen
Yeah.
that.
Well, that's one of his specials, but the follow-up special is Man on Fire, and he talks about exactly what you just said. But he said relationships are like this: they're like up, down, up, down, up, down, 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 not up, down, 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 like this, and it's so fucking good. He goes on this whole rant about like the, stealing the sheets. He's like, you're like a shitty typewriter. You take it and you leave it. You take it with the sheet, and I'm lying there freezing, my mouth's bleeding because you've got the purifier on, and it's fucking.
Oh man, that's pretty funny.
Hey, it's so great. It's so great. I just remembered we were also, but indirect, like we didn't cross paths. We both worked on Pulse.
We did.
Yeah. That did really well. That reminds me because you went to see the premiere or one of
I was
in Melbourne
while I was travelling around.
That's right.
I think I sent you a message and was like, "Hey, you coming to this?"
Yeah, and that would have been like maybe a month or two before I went up to Sydney and saw you up in Sydney after that.
Yeah,
because she was there at that.
It would have been probably 5 months. Because I went and lived in Berlin for a tiny bit during that time.
Oh yeah. Oh shit.
But yeah.
All right. So full circle.
But yeah, and so well from there I came back to Perth because I was like, I was pretty broken, and I was like, I may as well be sad but make some sweet cash while I'm doing it instead of just be sad and sort of trying to find my way in a new city. That just seemed a bit unfathomable at the time. So I came back, and then I just had this really strange but beautiful experience. Like I went to this mining job, and I was so sad in making those phone calls, but the instant I got to the airport to fly out for the first time, I was just like, this is where I need to be. And I almost felt that sort of Eckhart Tolle he talks about when he finally sort of discovered the joy and the bliss in life. It was just from not trying to be anything. And he was like studying in Cambridge, and he just quit and was like homeless for 4 years. But it was like, it was the best time of his life. Like he was just being. He'd just go into a park and sit and watch people for like days at a time. But anyway, so I kind of felt that, and then so that was cool. And then I was just like, oh shit, the acting auditions are around again. So I went for the Whopper BA, didn't get it, but had a chat with one of the guys on the panel who I knew. He said, I think this is more your jam, like try this. And so I put in for the screen acting diploma, and I got it and started my year at Whopper.
Which is awesome. I'm so glad that they do that, because that's not always been the case, that the screen acting side of things, because there is a big divide, as anyone would know, in the game between theatre and the mandatory component of Whopper being that you've got to sing and dance and do the whole show, unlike NIDA. So I remember...
You didn't really have to... My understanding... I feel like the singing and dancing is only for MTs, like the music theatre students. The acting auditions...
Oh, okay.
There's no... Well, I don't have to sing and dance.
Okay, that's interesting. I always thought it was like, if you're doing the Whopper full show, then that's you've got to do everything.
No, I'm pretty sure it's quite separate. Like they have.
Oh, that's good.
This brilliant music theatre course, which is like world renowned, and yeah, then they got their, I guess also very highly regarded, world renowned Hugh Jackman, all that went through.
Yeah.
But I guess he is the fullback. Everyone's like, oh, Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, that's their one shining star.
Well, I got a few now. But
do they?
Yeah, one of the guys I went through, I really didn't know him well, but we had a few chats. Just a beautiful, beautiful soul, and a gorgeous guy. And he was in season 3 of Sabrina on Netflix. So
right.
Yeah. And also obviously Dawe, the famous Dawe in Stranger Things.
Oh, is he from Whopper? Yeah, okay.
But it was good, and I'm glad I knew the guy on the panel, and he was able to be like, I think this is
advisory.
And then I just put a tape down, and a girl I knew, and I got it. It was really
What was the scene that you did?
We had to do 2, so they purposely gave us very bland scenes and quite shitty things to act, because they're like, I guess we'll just see what they can do. So I did one from
Yeah. See how well you can polish a turd. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a Home and Away one, and I can't even remember the other one. Yeah, but it was good. I got right into it, and we recorded them here before I really knew how to do a self tape. But Whopper was brilliant.
I think that's so interesting. Isn't it funny when you start doing self tapes? Do you know what? I will confess to one of my first ever self tapes, getting to the end of it and saying scene. And I just, oh God, I'm sure the person who's watching it was like, this motherfucker. and it was like a 6-minute monologue too. And it's like, no one's listening to it for that long, bro. I'm sure they turned it off after. Maybe they never actually got to see me make a complete prick of myself at the end of it, because they turned it off long before.
Yeah. Well,
I didn't have any. Yeah. I mean, there's lots of stuff like that. Like when I was in New York and I started going for commercials and they wanted a chat to camera, and I just when I moved to Melbourne and started doing training for chats to cameras at TAFTA, I was instantly tuned in or illuminated to how badly I must have done on those chats to cameras, not knowing my frame, not knowing what was the driving objective of a chat to camera. So I would have been like, well, I'm new to New York, and I'm an Aussie, and do you know what I mean? Like, I would have been all over the fuck. I would have been all over the place, because they're actually quite hard. It's a real skill.
So these were self-tapes for chat to camera kind of thing.
No. When you go in for like a commercial audition, a lot of them, especially non-speaking roles, they'll just want to chat to camera from you just to get your essence.
Ah, right. Like, tell us about your hobbies.
So it'll be like, hi, can you tell us about your name? What have you been working on lately? What makes you really fucking whatever, And it's generally you want to find something that's kind of cheerful but middle of the road. So it's like not too bright but not too dark and not too philosophical, or, like a headshot. It's basically a headshot. 1,000 headshots stitched together.
Yeah.
And they want it, and there's that thing of, most directors, as soon as they hit play, if you're like, hi, bam, next one, they won't even get, the high has got to be perfect. Do you know what I mean? It's a real, especially when they're sitting down to 100 of them, as opposed to maybe 10 that they might have seen in the old days or whatever. So that was really illuminating to just how much I was winging it out there and why I never booked anything. I remember going in for a Nissan commercial, and it was like pretty good money. It was probably 15 grand or something like that. And it was like 4 days shooting in Texas, and it was going to be really great. And I remember getting my gear on. I was like, yep, I'm the guy. And I got to the casting room, and of course there's 5 other dudes that all look like me. But I remember the casting director or the guy who sort of run the place giving me the once over and sort of giving me a nod like, yeah. And then going in there and just like losing it. And she's like, well, it's not as serious as that. It's a car commercial, and so maybe we could just lift it up. And when you get that little like twitch or a tremor, I'm like, oh my God, my cheek's twitching. Could you see my cheek twitching? She's like, no, your cheek's fine. Just, what? And she really did work with me. And I thought, oh, fuck. And I was so broke too. I was like, geez, 10,000 American would be pretty sweet to have right now. Trip to Texas, something to sort of convince my agency that I was worth it, because I'd coming to the end of a 6-month trip and I hadn't booked anything, and he was so certain that I was going to fly out of the gates. Sorry, buddy. Never happened.
Oh, man. Well, not anymore, though. You booked a car commercial here, didn't you? You booked the Havel.
Yes, I did, which lots of my friends send me screenshots of.
I think about you every time I see one. A little Havel. I go to take a photo, and then I'm like, no, don't touch your phone while you're driving. Take it first.
It's just the worst commercial too. Fucking hell.
I haven't actually seen the commercial. You just told me.
Oh, haven't you? Oh, yeah, right. I'll send it to you. You can watch it. I tell you what, though, it came back around for a second run, so I got another rollout fee just as the first lockdown hit. So it was crazy. One of those. It was like Layla's born. A week later, we're in lockdown. I lose 70% of my business, and then maybe 2 weeks later, I get an email from my former agency saying we managed to jack up your buyout too. It's not a buyout, but a rollover fee too. So there was a couple of grand that came through and got me through. So thank you, Haval. Yeah. And actually, I made a great contact. A connection with the director. He's a really good guy, Nick Clifford. I've really been trying to get him on the podcast too, but just one of those generous dudes who sat with me like a year later and had a chat about my feature and how I might, strategically try and get money for it. Stuff like, like an hour of his time from someone who's made
of the TVC.
Yeah, but he does a lot of short films and features and that as well. So he's a good dude. So now last year you, in a hurry, had to grow some facial hair for a period piece, didn't you?
I did.
I remember that correctly? That was a bigger thing. That was something worth, tell me about it.
So that was a film called The Furnace. So I was just working in Perth at the time, and the audition came through, and I went for the audition. It was pretty much all improvised, but they threw...
In person?
Yeah, it was an in-person with Nikki Barrett casting, so one of the big ones, I hear.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so she was in the room, which is cool, and then this other guy from Perth, and then, we went in, and I thought, because it was all kind of improvised, and we just kind of ran out the scene. I don't know how much I can say about the scene, but this is quite specific action, so we just acted it out, and I was thinking, man, this is terrible. All I was trying to do, because I called my one of my lecturers from Whopper, and I was be like, hey, Damien Foley, lovely man, who was our main contact at Whopper, took us for a lot of the film stuff, and I was like, how do you think I should approach this? And he said, it's just improvised. Just all you have to do is just go in and be present. You can't really prepare for it. And I was like, great. That put me at ease. I just tried to do that, and I was working before the audition, and I had to go back to work after. I was working with my dad at a gardening job, and I told him, man, I did not get that audition. But then 4 weeks later, I got an email saying, you've got the part, please let us know if you're willing to accept. And I was like, incredible. So so that has gone on to do great things. That is now the only Aussie film at the Venice Film Festival this year, which is so
Oh,
exciting.
wow.
Yeah, it's my role is quite small. I have one scene and one line with my brilliant scene partners, Dom Smith, who's a Perth actor, and then this Sydney-based comedian called Sean Chulbro, who's a very funny man, quite well known. And so it was just such a fun day. But yeah, so for Roderick McKay, who directed it, it's such an achievement, and it's so cool. He's there in Venice now. I saw a post.
What is it about?
So it is about It's about a prospector who steals a couple of bars of gold, and is trying to get them to a furnace to melt down the symbols of the crown on the gold. So you can be like, oh, it's my gold.
Right. Take the brand off.
On the way, he meets a Gan Cameleer, and so he is like, it's his film. It's the Cameleer's film, and so those two have this very hate relationship at the start, but it turns into kind of love-hate by the end. So it's essentially like a buddy adventure film. But it's a huge part of the film is all the different dialects they use, and all the different languages. So they have Buddy Maya, which is the local language of the region, and they have like Pashto, they have Mandarin, obviously have English, and there's another one in there that I can't quite remember. So all these are done in the film, and all the main actors have to learn like this Buddy Maya language, because the first 15 minutes is pretty much all Buddy Maya, which is brilliant.
Which is what?
It's like it's an Aboriginal language around, I think, the Yamaji region, like around Geraldton. So this film,
okay,
a bit more context. The film was...
It is shot on location as to where it is.
So it was shot in
placed.
Mount Magnet and Kalbarri.
Okay, wow, Mount Magnet, what a beautiful place.
So yeah, and then also all this, because that's like a big part of Australia's history, all these kind of Afghan Cavaliers interacting with like white people and Aboriginal people, and it's never really been put on camera before, and it was so cool.
Did they end up recreating? So up and outside of Mount Magnet in those days, there was a bar which was the longest bar or something like that in the Southern Hemisphere, and there's a ruin that you can go and check out. Yeah, and it's there still outside Mount Magnet, and it would be part of that history for sure. It's really interesting. I think it's something like that. It was it had some kind of claim to fame like that, but the shell of it is still there.
Yeah.
My dad and I did what's it called? Pegging out there for a tenement years ago, and then I ended up working as a field assistant for Sandfire, looking for copper and uranium and shit all around that area as well.
Yeah, well, it's funny.
I've
actually worked out there a fair bit as well. Like with mining, my current job that's the nearest big place, Mount Magnet. I'm at 80 k's northwest of Mount Magnet currently.
Oh, okay. Cool.
And my first ever foray into mining was in Yalgoo, which is just about 200 k's
BHP,
to the
right?
ocean than Mount Magnet. No, I think it's just a solo town. I'm pretty sure. There's not like...
No, the company you worked for was BHP, wasn't it?
No, I never worked for BHP. I worked for a lot. I generally try to avoid the blue chip miners.
The bigger ones.
I like chill
Right. Yeah. Safety Nazis.
But so that was really cool to be a part of, and I like a big budget. I've heard a lot of different things. Like the biggest I heard was 25 mil, and the lowest I heard was about 9 mil. But it was definitely the biggest production I'd ever seen. I had a trailer. There were plane flights. It was cool. I had like people driving me to and from set and everything. Yeah, it was pretty mental.
That's unreal, dude.
It was the first time I'd seen like that full chain of command. The director and the DOP were both in a tent, behind the camera, and then they liaised with like the first AD, and the first AD was the one that spoke to me, and then every now and then Roderick, the director, would come out. But it was just cool being a part of that huge kind of organism, and then yeah, it was a bit stressful the first time. You know, they're like action. You're like,
Yeah.
maybe like 40 or 60 people are just like, all watching you do your thing. I was like, shit.
I know.
But
Yeah.
no, it was so much fun.
Go time.
And I think the best bit about that experience was, so I was in Mount Magnet for 2 nights, and I was a bit disenchanted with the whole acting thing by then. I was just like, I don't know, but then, so that night, I just...
Wait. Hold on. You were disenchanted again after Whopper and all of that training, and you've just got a part in the film, and you still managed to sort of find that, I don't know about this spot?
Yeah, well, Whopper was an interesting year for me. We can go into that more. It wasn't the happiest year.
Yeah.
For reasons outside of Whopper.
Sure.
Yeah, and I think by the end of it, I was just kind of glad to be done, and just... but yeah, I did.
Sorry, I know.
But then this film kind of brought it back,
right.
because I was just hanging out with all those actors again. Like David Wenham is on this film, Trevor Jamison is on this film, and all these dudes who are big up and comers. And I was just one of the guys there. Like I remember, and we were at the Mount Magnet pub, one of 3, as you do.
Yeah.
And they were one of 2. And yeah, one of the guys. He was one of the leads, but I never met him before, and I was like, oh, so is this, I don't know, is this your first film? What's kind of going on? He's like, oh, it's my second actually, but can I tell you about my first? I was like, oh man, yeah, I'd love to hear about it. And this motherfucker had just gone and won like the best up and comer at the Venice Film Festival for his last film, his first role, and I was like,
oh wow,
man, this is like the real deal, and it was so cool. He was a lovely guy called Bakerly Gundamar, so he plays Wurak in this film, who's like the best mate of the lead. So yeah, brilliant guy. But he was in a film called The Nightingale, which is a...
I knew you were going to say that. Yeah.
In that, and man,
that's a nuts film. I haven't...
Yeah, all about the genocide of Aboriginal people from Tasmania. It's intense. But but just feeling like one of the guys in that thing, and I was like, all these people kind of do what I wanted. Are at where I want to be, and it was just for those 2 days. I just kind of slotted in, and I was like, "This is so awesome." Yeah, and then that definitely buoyed me up a bit.
It propels you along. It gives you a sniff. It was interesting. You were talking about how you auditioned for this, and you reached out to one of your lecturers. And I did the exact same thing when I was auditioning for my first feature, in that it was improv. And I sat down with Miles, like, for a coaching session, and he's like...
Was this Weevil?
This is for Weevil, yeah. He's like, well, it's pretty vague, and that's part of the plan. And you can love it or hate it, but that's the deal. So all you need to do is just know what that guy does for a job. So you've got some dialogue that you can throw in there, and just answer it however you'd answer it. Like, literally, don't even worry about a fucking character or what he would say. Just say what you would say, and feel emotion how you would feel emotion with whatever they throw at you, and just listen. Like exactly what your coach said. Just be present and have a listen, and the winner was...
In essence,
it is the crux of acting too, and when you've got lines and you've got a plan, you kind of forget it when you're scared and new and fresh and people are watching, and blah 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 blah. But I don't know if I would have done my prep the way that I did it if he hadn't have given me that little... Just like he does, just those little fucking nuggets that are so good. And what I learnt from that is that if you audition in that with that same sort of premise of it just being, however, not... some people need to embed themselves in the idea of a character, and I get that. That's some people's style. But certainly for me, it's got to be... I don't want to say I am the character, you know what I mean? But I can't do that other thing. So if I just literally do whatever I would do, and if that works, then I know I can keep it up.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be found out where I haven't done enough coverage of this character. You know, it's so much easier for me to deliver on across the board. I was talking to, I had an interview with for Stringy Bark because it's just come out on Ozflix, and actually it's
I
the
downloaded it the other night. But I was going to watch it this morning. I just ran out of time. But
sure. It's actually one of the most successful openings they've had ever on that platform, which is so great. Yeah. But he was asking me in this interview, like, what was your, how did you plan or prep to, become Ned Kelly or whatever? I didn't do any prep like that at all. I just was like, well, my strength is to be still and to be calm and to not be flamboyant or vicious or evil. So I'm just going to do that and let everything else take care of the rest. And that's a valuable lesson that I learned. And so, because it was interesting when you watch the film, there's a real juxtaposition between me and the other guys because they're all theatrically trained. And so they went big and I went small, and neither one is the right or wrong choice, but there creates this hierarchy between us, which is perfect for the film, which was not a plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny, your last interview with Dylan Smith, which is brilliant, by the way. Well done. It's such a
Thank you.
There's so much gold in that. But he was talking about, like
getting out of your own way.
Yeah, well, and letting you come through. Like that's your true strength. He said that line, no one was ever cast because they're the best actor. They got out of their own way and let their authentic self come through. Something like that. But yeah.
I think you're pretty close to the mark there, actually.
Yeah, it was cool.
No, it's very, very good.
But also,
he's
auditioning smart too. Like for this Furnace film, like another thing, a really good thing that Damien told me was because the characters, it's set in 1890 Australia, so apparently that had a lot of people come through dressed up in like what they thought was period costume at the time. And Damien just said, look, what is this guy? And I was like, I guess essentially he's like a tradesman, he's like a worker, like blue collar. So he's like, just dress as blue collar today. What is blue collar for you? So I just went in there, I was doing a gardening job that day, so I just wore some dirty jeans and some boots, and I changed my shirt. I just put on like a blue sort of mechanic kind of shirt that I had.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's just like, it's obviously not 1890, but it's definitely worker. And yeah.
They just need a hint, man. Yeah. They just need a hint. That's right. They want your brand. They're thinking about it. They've got you in a mid shot on their screen, and they're like, oh yeah, that slots in nicely. I can see them fitting that, and we can work with the rest. A lot of it is just that, especially when they're improvising. It's just like, okay, that's cool. This guy can play. He can listen, and he looks good, or he fits what I have in my mind. Done.
Yeah.
It's this whole yeah. Well, that's wicked, man. I can't wait to see it. Is it available to see?
No, it hasn't been premiered yet, so it's
okay.
It's not out. They had a cast and crew screening in Perth about 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago.
So you saw it?
Yeah, I got to see it. It's
Were you stoked?
Yeah, it's like the first time I've really been like really like I don't have a huge body work at all. But I was just so proud to be a part of this. It was like, it's such a beautiful film. It's got such a great and timely message, like especially for now, when the world's in such a mess, like capitalism and materialism are all just like reigning supreme, and this message in this film is just so beautiful. It's just like, we all know what the right path is. It's just, there's a great line.
Do we take
in
it?
that film from Trevor Jamison, and he's talking to the main character, who at one point has made maybe not the best choice, and he said the gold, or like the yellow rock, he discovers he's got this gold in him, and he's like, this yellow rock that drives people mad, they'll turn against everything, their most core beliefs, in order to do something for that rock. And it's just like, yeah, it's so good. So yeah, and it's so beautiful, man, like the cinematography, and it's all done in WA. except for the main cast, I'm pretty sure everyone's from Perth, like all the production team and everything. And Roderick's just a Perth boy who's about to start doing very well, I'd imagine, which is, I'm so excited.
Yeah.
He's so lovely. He's beautiful too. He's got like, he should be on screen. He's got like Cobain blonde hair, and he's a cool guy. But yeah, and another really cool part I should mention of this film is that, so I'm lucky to have a couple of very clever friends, and one of my best mates, a guy called James Bednall, Dr. James Bednall now, actually did the translations for the Buddy Mine language. So he was brought on as a translator, and then another very clever friend of mine, a girl called Rosie, she organised that through the language centre, so she organised all the language translations of the Aboriginal languages, so it's kind of cool that we've all got a little part in this film, so that was nice.
And they
were on
that would not have...
I had my audition, and I remember sitting down with them,
Oh, wow.
and I was like, I'll see you guys on set. And then I did. Well, they weren't there, but I still got the role, so that was cool.
I think you'll all be together in the credits.
Yes, well, we're kind of spaced apart, but it's there.
Yeah, I figured you would be. So, well, now that you've got a bit more of a kick in your step, you're working on a short film now.
Yes.
But is that must be wrapped, is it?
No, we've got our final day of shooting, final main day of principal photography on Sunday. This coming Sunday. So we've got a big day lined up. We've done everything else, and then because I do fly in fly out, I'm off again next Tuesday. So they've booked us out a day when I'm back next in case I need any pickups or anything like that. But so
right,
we'll be done on Sunday.
How many days shooting all up?
I think there's been 4.
Okay.
4.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Not too bad for a short.
Some days are quite grueling, but then other days, like we had this kind of, like definitely the juiciest scene of the film for me. It was so much fun. I just kind of had to be like, like it's the film is about a lady, Jean, who lives with her husband, who is quite manipulative and controlling and rather abusive. Not necessarily outwardly, but just by the way he treats her. And so, getting to let that kind of manifest a bit physically the other night and kind of confront her in a way, that was just getting to play something a bit dangerous and definitely stuff I never do in real life. So it was fun kind of letting that out and just going for it. But that was all super quick. It was just all like, a couple of wides and then just almost straight into close-ups and stuff, and it just had fun. I was almost disappointed we didn't go longer, but so that's done. And then next break, so these guys I met ages ago as extras on a film set, they've actually gone on to have quite a successful wedding photography and video business. And so this is a guy called Aidan Blake and Janine, his lovely wife. And so every year they've done a short film, just keep their creative juices flowing, whatever. But this year they've kind of gone all out, and so they've done, I think, a couple of them. I think they've done 3 short films now, but the one they're doing this year is quite epic. So I've got a role as in that, I guess, and so that's already started shooting, but it's quite bitsy because it's not, I don't think anyone's getting paid, so they're just working around people's schedules.
Right.
So my first day of shooting is in about 3 weeks, 3 or 4 weeks. But I've got quite a good role in that too. It's very Game of Thrones-esque.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, very epic. And then another really fun project I was a part of, which started filming during COVID, or just before COVID lockdown hit, and we had to stop. There's this thing called Slippery Business. So that's really good fun. So that's about a sex shop, which is going under. And the guy who runs a sex shop is a brilliant actor called Jesse Phillips. So he's kind of like our fearless leader, but he's very much in the shit, and so he kind of resorts to like mafia-esque kind of means to keep the shop afloat. But it's much more about, that's like the premise, but it's much more about the interactions and the relationships between the people in the store. So I got to play a character called Errol, who is just a bit of a loser. Completely socially inept and really awkward. He's got that kind of weird, like he would know how to handle a gun, that kind of vibe. Just real like something's off, but very lovable. So we filmed that for most of, I think 2 breaks ago. For me, I kind of work my schedule around breaks. So they very
I remember what it's like.
Put the schedule around my schedule, so I think 5 to 7 days of my break were on that. So that's done now, and that's going to be released as a web series. It's being edited right now, so I'm really up for that. Like, it was, it started off as a short film last year, and then they pitched that short film to a couple of people, and the city of Mandurah gave them like $10,000, which is incredible. And so they put that towards, obviously, all the incidental fees of making a production, and then they held off on paying anyone and put it towards like a mentorship kind of for editing, writing, and I think cinematography. So the script was pretty tight and it's like properly funny. So I'm really excited for that one to be let loose on the world.
So it's been shot.
Yeah, that one's being shot. It's in post right now. It's being edited as we speak.
Dude, so you've been hustling. You've been doing a lot.
Yeah, it's been really busy. It's just really cool. And I was in the second feature film I was in was the start of 2019. A really fun dinner table farce meets zombie horror. That's what the writer described it as. So it's like brilliant script, and we shot that down south for 2 weeks at the start of 2019, like early January, I think. I was just at your wedding. I told them I was going to be a day late because I can't get out of this thing, and that was your wedding.
Oh, so, really?
Yeah. So that was why I couldn't probably stay around that late that night. Yeah, I had to shoot down to Donnybrook the next day to start shooting.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
2 months ago, as part of the Rev Film Festival in Perth. So that was really cool. And that's doing a couple of film festivals around the world now. It's doing one in Manchester, and then it's got selected to be at, I think, Fright Fest which is screening in LA, at like the old Chinese theatre where they used to hold the Oscars in like November, I think. So, yeah.
I fucking told you should endeavour with the acting thing, man.
Yeah. So I don't know this stuff means anything.
You're welcome. Really That's fine. No problem.
You're a great man. How can I repay you? So it's just been really cool. Like, and I think that's. I just feel really good about the acting right now. And it just, like, even though nothing much has changed, I guess it's just like a mindset, because a couple of things have come out and they're not shit. And I'm like, wow, this is cool. And then I'm just so busy, like, with all these smaller projects. So yeah, it feels good right now. It feels like there's a bit of momentum, whether it's there or not. It feels like it, and that's what counts for.
I love it. I'm just going to grab another beer, mate. Are you going to get that little beer of yours out of the fridge?
Well, look, I'll go to the loo and I'll think about it.
Yeah, man. That's really, I'm so pumped about that. I got to tell you, like, I was, I've known you, 6 years now, 7 years. And I always hoped that you would get that run on with acting, because you sort of dip your toe in and step out and dip your toe in, and you're torn between making money and pursuing your music career. But I think you love music, but there's this thing that's always pulling you towards being in front of the camera and telling a story that way.
Yeah. Well, I think I had a really good psychology session the other day with Sarah Schubert, who you actually put me onto way back in the day. She's still awesome. She's incredible. She's super lovely.
I'm so glad for that. Yeah, she's great. If say hi for me.
Yeah.
She probably doesn't remember me, but if you do, but
I will. I'll tell her. I'm seeing her next time I'm in
yeah.
Perth as well. But yeah, we're doing some EMDR stuff.
Oh, wicked!
Which is kind of exciting, and yeah, it's good. But so just yesterday, I think we had a session, and which I was trying to talk about like what all these different things are for me, because I have these three very different things in my life. Like I got mining, which is like the bread winner, and then I've got acting, which is kind of this. I don't know what it is, but it feels kind of very dangerous and very exciting, but it's very intoxicating, and it's fantastic. Like it really excites me. It's what gets me going. And then music, which is something that is, and I assume always will be, kind of like home for me. It's just
you feel safe
I'm doing
there.
It since I was 6. Yeah, and I'm really good at it, and like I teach music. I'm a trombonist. And yeah, so like in classical music, it's just my jam. Like I love it so much. And the more you delve into it, like the more there is to discover. Yeah, I don't think I'll ever lose that. But just trying to, just trying to work out how they can all work together. But like a beautiful thing that happened last year, I started conducting as well, which was incredible. So I was conducting 2 ensembles actually. And that's always been something I wanted to pursue musically. There's just something. So when you're in front of an orchestra, I've only conducted an orchestra a very small number of times, but I was the music director of a brass band in Perth. So that was like my main weekly call. And just when everything's on, like conducting is brilliant. It's just using like all the parts of my brain, there's like crowd control, a bit of performing, a bit of acting, and then all your musical skills. People just ask you like, oh, what's this rhythm? And I'm like, and just gotta like get it there. But most of the time you do. But there's something so cool about acting. I think acting scares me like every time I go on set, but like in a good way. And I think it forces me to be vulnerable, maybe in ways I can't be with music, because of what we were talking about before, maybe with Dylan talking about that as well. Like, and I love, there's a great interview Sam Jones did with Ethan Hawke, who talks about working with the brilliant Robin Williams on
the Dead Poets
the Dead
Society.
Poets Society. And he talks about Robin, the brilliance of Robin Williams is that Ethan said even he didn't know what he was going to do in a scene. He said, like some people, like, have different methods and everything, but he said it's always the worst when people come in with, this is how I'm going to do this scene. And it's like they're trying to force their interpretation of the art onto, the production, the scene, the other actor, when the art comes from, I guess, that working together. And he said Robin was the best at that. He just said he would just work with whatever and make it his thing. And I think, like, Wapo was really good for that. Just kind of, we just did so many scenes, and I felt at the end of it, like, that's the thing, you just got to go in and almost forget, like, maybe get where you want to be. If you got to get emotional or angry or whatever, like, have that in your body beforehand and then walk through and just leave it and just roll with whatever.
Yep.
And I think that's the thing that really scares me and that you can't control. But my God, it's really intoxicating. It's so much
I
fun.
think
and it's so like, it's exquisite. We don't really do that in life. I don't know. It's just, it provides this thing which is just magic, which, yeah, it's a shame it's so hard to do. Like, just to make money off it, and even just to do it. Like, a lot of people, like, I'm so lucky that I get to do all these like little short film projects. Like, even those are hard to come by for a lot of people, I'm sure. But it is something that, what a treat it would be to just be able to do that.
Yeah, you're so on point there. When you start getting a taste of just of what it would be like I remember the first time being on set for like more than a day, and sort of turning to the other actors and saying, "Fuck, this I could do this every day." You know, we ended up being out on set for 8 days and wishing there was more, that there was weeks or months to go. You know, being disappointed that it was over. I absolutely loved it. Fucking eyelash in my eye. Yeah, well, that's so good, man. That's so great. And so,
Yeah, and
go on.
I think another great thing on that is that every production I've done, I feel I always learn something because you're just thrown into. Maybe I'm more acutely aware of it because I work in mining, so a lot of my days are spent on my own.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm driving dump trucks. But when you're on a film set, like you're just surrounded by people all the time. There's no rest, and I find I always get some life lessons thrown my way on film sets. Yeah. You know, sometimes a thing I've done wrong and like fucked up, but other times it's maybe you'll do something right, but just like outside of the acting. And I really like that about acting too. You know, you just have these, because they're such intense pressure situations.
Example.
Yeah. I think on this last shoot, the one I'm currently doing, I'm by far the oldest person on set, so I'm 32. And Nikki, my amazing
co-star,
co-star, is she's funny. So she's 19, I think maybe 20. She was 17 when we started at Wenham.
That crazy.
I haven't spoken to a 17-year-old in God knows how long. But everyone always jokes she was like the youngest. Well, she wasn't the youngest. There were 3 17-year-olds, but she's like the most mature by far.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of cool, I think you were talking about that with Dylan as well, like maybe on a set being surrounded by people who are just so young, you just notice differences, and I found that a lot at Whopper as well. But yeah, just like, I do know some of this, you know, I know what's up, and people have come to me and asked me a thing or two, and I'm like, I was just like, I laugh, and then I'm like, oh, they're serious. Oh, okay.
And then you're like, oh, actually, I do have an answer for that. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just it's cool to be able to kind of impart that. Like that's a positive. I've had negative ones, but I won't go into them. But yeah, like yeah, I think it's just cool to realise that, oh, you know, I do know some of this stuff, and just by virtue of being 32 and having lived some life, and maybe having some maturity.
It doesn't matter.
A lot would argue not as much as I should, but you know, yeah. But in saying that, when I say I won't go into some of the negative ones are probably turn out the most positive in the end because they teach you the biggest lessons.
We are the sum of our experiences.
Slap in the face.
And we should be grateful for all of them if you're happy with who you are.
Yeah. So yeah, it's good. Like acting is this beautiful thing, and I think it forces me to, yeah, I don't know. Like you're just constantly delving into yourself and exploring that as well, which is cool. And yeah, I don't know. It's this beautiful thing. But it all started with old Miles Pollard. Yeah, that first class. I remember I had this like literally mind-blowing experience in there. On the last day, we'd been working towards it, and we ended up running a scene just for the camera.
The old Goodwill Hunting scene.
Oh, well, it wasn't that for me.
I thought you did the same one.
Oh no, it was just this it was a nothing scene. It was just like a lot of dialogue, like, oh, how, I don't know. It was just two people who, one was trying to get some information out of the other, and so I went away with the actress I was paired with, and yeah, we came up with the context that we were like engaged, had been together for many years, we knew each other well, but yeah, and then she was trying to get, I don't even remember, but anyway, and so we came in, we were like, yeah, and we ran the scene, and Miles was like, that was shit, come with me. And so we took the girl out of the room and told her something, I don't know, that's the brilliance of it. And then he took me aside and he was like, Evan, have you ever been in love? I had, and that was still very much a tangible thing for me. And he's like, channel that. When this woman, when I can't remember her name, when she walks in the room, like, that's the person. She's going to be the mother of your children. Like, she's your life partner. Think about that. And so I did that, and then this girl came in the room, and he'd obviously told her something pretty intense as well. And yeah, it was just that thing. Like, I kind of forgot the lines. Like, I got some of them out, and she started crying, and I was like, fuck. And I get goosebumps every thinking about it. I haven't told this story for a while. Man, I just talk about it.
I know.
But yeah, and then we just had this real, genuine, beautiful, like, real moment, like, between two people. And Miles at the end, he just clapped and he's like, that's acting. And I was like, fucking hell. But then what messed it up for me was like, and I really struggled to, Wappa was good for this. But you know, kind of in that moment, like this girl was lovely, but I didn't really think anything more of it other than that. I was like, oh, you know, like she's very cute, whatever. But then during that scene, it's almost like, because we were talking about like love and a relationship, and I kind of just, like, something clicked inside me, something so powerful in that moment, and it's almost like I actually fell in love with her, like the character, the actress in that moment. And then I just spent the next hour and a half while everyone else was running theirs, just kind of sitting there like shocked. And it was literally a turning point for me. I was like, I've never been that moved by music, and I've done one 4-day acting course, and here I am. So, and that's
like the,
I've got to do more.
Yeah,
of this.
and that's like the power of,
that's where it started.
Power of technique too, right? And like acting techniques and skills that get you to that place to make it so real, you know. And then it's being able to apply it to, you know, a plethora of different actors multiple times and still getting the same or varied but high caliber results. That's the real craft, I think. Well, not I think, I know. And yeah.
Like in saying that story as well, like I realised that is a very unhealthy way to act. Like, you know, you can't just go and falling in love with everyone.
No.
Which is what I did for a while. Like,
you'll be in a constant state of heartbreak, you know, or adultery.
And so, you know, you've got to find ways to separate yourself from it. But I guess the essence of it is there. And I listened to this podcast with Jack Johnson not too long ago, who's in New Girl and is alongside Tom Cruise in The Mummy. And he talks about, like, I like the way he put it, because Wappa is very much like, you know, the method isn't right. Like, we don't really support the method. You know, use, as you said, like, you know, techniques and stuff to get there without having to go there in a way. But Jake was like almost against it. He was just like, what I love about acting is that you have these real interactions with people. Like, if you're in a relationship and in love with someone on screen and you're there for 4 months, like, you know, a little part of you is going to fall in love with them, and that's cool. Like, where else do you get to do that kind of, you know, you just have to...
Yeah, you just have to know how to wash it off.
The real side of it. Yeah.
You can't.
And I really didn't when I started, but yeah, I think Wappa really... Because that was all I had before I went into Wappa. I had no training, I just had Miles classes. So literally, if someone was like fall in love with someone, I would just go in there and be like, you know, I'm that guy, I can fall in love with this. So I was like, right, well, that's my job, and I would, and like, it hurts when your little whatever short film finishes.
Yeah.
Like, now I've got to work through that little bit of heartache. But
Bryan Cranston says it best.
I don't
know. That's all right. Bryan Cranston says it best. He's, you know, talks about some famous scenes of his, and he just says, you know, like actors, especially who are cut from that cloth, we pay a price for those scenes, you know. And I mean, who am I to question fucking Bryan Cranston? Like, I know that there is that club of actors who do pay that price, and it is real, and they do hold on to things and what have you. But there's the other side of that coin, where you're like the Leonardo DiCaprios of the world, who, I'm not going to say don't feel anything, but he doesn't pay a price for nothing. His is purely make believe. And he's so good. Now, I could be totally wrong about this, but I don't think I am. I think he comes from the physiological side of acting, where you represent it, you make the body do what it would do in that scenario. There's no deep, dark, fucking troubling memory or sensory technique that you're using to unveil a fucking hidden gem that's going to cause you to spiral into decay on screen. You know what I mean? His is purely, this is the scene, these are the given circumstances, this is what my character would do, and this is what it would look like. Okay, then I'll do that. You know, and Anthony Hopkins is the same. He didn't get all dark and fucked up for Silence of the Lambs. He was just like, this will look scary and this will work, and that's the physiology, and that's what I'm going to do. So when it's cut, he's Anthony Hopkins again. And then it's action, he's Hannibal Lecter. There's no crossover. And there's different schools like that. So one's healthier than the other. One is, you know,
For sure.
you're Marlon Brando and 200 pounds and suicidal, and the other is, you know, you're fit and fighting Clint Eastwood at 92. You know what I mean? Like, still making films.
Yeah. Well, Meryl's, they just kept talking about Meryl at one point. They were just like, watch Meryl. Because she's a true chameleon, you know.
Yeah.
But she's also got a seemingly happy home life. She just kind of stays out of the spotlight, and like, this is just like her job. And you can totally see that she seems like a healthy individual. You know.
Yeah, Tom Hanks is the same, man.
Yeah, Tom. Hugh Jackman. Like, you know.
Yeah, 100%. You don't see fucking Hugh running around all fucked up after like Logan or The Fountain or whatever and depressed and shit. It's like, that it's not that I don't get it. I do understand it. But for me, in my limited experience, like a big heavy scene or whatever, like when you cut, I'm pumped that it was so heavy and so dark and you felt so much. I fucking love that, you know? So I'm like, it's almost harder to get back to it.
Kind of the same.
Yeah.
It's just that adrenaline's going through.
At the end of, which is now called Closure, but was Lauren, the third film that you and I have worked on together.
Oh, yes.
Which unfortunately you've been cut out of. Yeah, I know. You knew that, right?
I think I've just got something. I'm just
See ya.
Oh dear. No, I wasn't aware of it.
I'll unveil.
Sure
I'll unveil. But you know, the end of that film, and I won't give it away, but there's a very, very heavy scene where me and Nick, you know, it's fucking extreme, but it went for a long time. But you know, you're depleted and there's nothing left, and you get to the end of it, but you're both like, I don't know, I'm super excited, you know. The reason you got cut is, if you recall, that bathtub was just a fucking nightmare. It was very tight, and it was all we could get at the time. And so what's happened is that now the film has actually been extended into a 10-part miniseries. Yeah, so they managed to actually walk away with about 45 minutes of footage, but they want to reshoot those scenes to suit and to look a little bit better because it was tight and there was lots of fuck-ups. And also, more than anything else, is when you look back on it, we weren't able to create enough disparity or difference between Lauren and Angelique. Nick and Nick. So when you go from modern day to a flashback, it's like, well, that's... am I looking at the same person? You know what I mean? You know how we used her for the former whatever? So that all has to be reshot just because of that, because it just doesn't track, which means all your scenes got cut. I know, right? But at least the film was salvaged because it was in the bin there for a little bit.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey.
Yeah.
But hey, it was a fun couple of days on set.
Look, it was so...
I got to meet your stepmom.
Yeah, I mean, but...
And I got to meet Nick.
Yeah, and you got to meet my wife.
Had
and
a nice tofu sandwich.
Oh, yeah. But, you know...
Yeah, I did. I really got to hang out with Erica a bit, who's
I think this is... Thank you. I think this is probably a sweet little spot to wrap it up, because we talked about how you and I know each other was running in to a film set, and it was, for me, it was really, really serendipitous and really great that the first film that I was making, after all these years of us training with the same coach and going and doing it, all these different things, and sort of always living in different towns for most of it, for you to serendipitously be on your way to Melbourne, and me not having yet cast that part and not being able to find anyone, and you and the director going, actually, yeah, sweet. That lineup was so great.
Yeah, it was very serendipitous. So yeah, cheers. It's probably bad luck, my empty glass of water.
Well, cheers, my friend. It's really great to catch up with you, and I appreciate you taking the time to sit down and have a chat. And I'm just so pumped that you're doing all this stuff, man. It's fucking... I can't tell you how happy that makes me, because I've always just knew that was where you should be headed, and you sort of had to find your own way there, of course, and you found it. So I'm really pumped about that.
Yeah, man. Thank you. Anytime. I really don't know. Yeah, well, no, it's good.
What?
It's good.
You really don't know after all of that?
Oh, no. I was just going to say, it's just edit that out.
No.
It's
You're
fine.
on. You're gonna finish that sentence.
I was just saying, like as I said before, like it feels like there's momentum for me. I almost feel a bit. It just feels a bit daft almost, you know, like I'm genuinely pumped that the Furnace is doing great things. But I am very aware that I have one scene.
Right. No. Okay.
But you know, but hey, for me, it's giving me a sense of like momentum and direction, and I honestly feel like that's the most important thing.
That is the most important thing, man, because you are not...
And I can go into some other films now with like just a bit of confidence, not like arrogance, not like, oh, I know what I'm doing, I've been in this film. It's just like, this is kind of working, and it's just like, it just gives me an impetus to like, you know, do the work and to just not be, you know, not be an anxious mess and just be like, I got
Yes,
this.
100%. It is a collective gathering of well, I gather they're the same thing. Experiences that go into your tool belt when you step onto the next thing. And someone said this the other day, and it is so spot on. You are not the film that you are working on. The film or whatever project that you're working on is the stepping stone to the next thing. And it's the next thing that'll be great. And then the next thing after that is greater again because of that great thing that came before it, provided they're good and you utilize them the right way. So, and I'm glad you finished that sentence, because we all do the exact same thing. Like, I haven't acted in a fictional narrative since my film, and that's 18 months ago. And so sometimes I think, fuck. You know, like I've been doing showreel scenes and I've been doing vignettes here and I've been writing a lot and I've been doing this, which is great.
Awesome.
Yeah, I just wrote a pilot, you know, like in lockdown, like, and we're going to shoot it. Like and I'm really excited. But
like for a TV show?
For a TV show, yeah.
Yeah.
But you do go, well, that's off there doing great, and now I'm done and I'm finished. And like, really, is that little like 30 seconds that I was in that film gonna fucking do anything for me? But it
I think it's at least 50.
But it'll do more for you internally that they will never know when you walk on to the next thing, and that's what's really, really great about it.
Well, like even as I was saying, you know, that evening where, you know, all these big renowned actors were just like taking me under their wing and buying me beers, and we just got drunk together and just shared stories. It was just like, this is where I want to be. This is cool. So yeah, it gives you something to aim for, maybe.
All right, man. Yeah. I love your work.
All right. Love what you're doing too, man. Well done on the podcast. Literally, that last interview was great. Everyone should listen to it. Dylan Smith. What a great guy. I'm going to go check out some of his stuff.
Yeah, he's really great. He's got a great body of work. Thanks, buddy. I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, no worries.
See ya.
See ya.